All right. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Eric Carter Lundeen. I am a co founder and the CEO of Advocacy Conference. It is a conference unlike any other crime conference you've ever been to. We're bringing together resources, we're bringing together families of the missing and murdered, and we're connecting everybody so that we can hopefully provide some hope as well as maybe some direction and some advice for families that are out there looking for answers. And this is the first of our live series. I was going to say webinar, but it's not really a webinar. It's more of a live series where we're going to be introducing various people, various organizations that are participating in AdvocacyCon this year. And we are super excited to be here today with Season of Justice. But before we introduce the two lovely ladies from Season of Justice, Melissa, I'd like you to just introduce yourself quickly, and then we'll turn it over to Sydney and Kendall.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Melissa. I'm technically the CFO of AdvocacyCon. I deal with all the financial aspects of it. Love being a part of what we are creating here in this first conference that we're putting on coming up in March. I'm also a co host of Navigating Advocacy, the podcast. Always dealing with families and helping any way we can. We have a motto, action-oriented advocacy, always trying to go out and do more than just speak about the crimes that are happening to everyone. So yes, thank you, Eric.
Thank you. And then Sydney and Kendall, if you want to introduce yourselves and what you do for Season of Justice, and we'll just get started.
Sounds great. Thank you so much to both of you for having us. I'm Sydney Packa. I'm the development manager at Season of Justice. So I get the privilege of working with our amazing partners like you all and our donors who make our mission possible. I'll hand it over to Kendall, who's our program manager.
Hi, I'm Kendall. I'm the program manager, and my role is to help families get, for our family grant program to get families, the awareness and exposure through different forms of media. And then also our DNA grant program that funds advanced DNA testing for cold cases. So thank you guys for having us.
It's amazing to have you here. It's amazing to be talking to both of you. I am such a fan of the work that you do. I love anybody that goes out there and tries to make things a little bit easier for families like mine, because this is definitely one of the most difficult things to go through. It's one of the most lonely things to go through. And so we're just super, super grateful for the work that you're doing. And we're excited that you're bringing that same energy to AdvocacyCon this year. So can you, one of you, whichever one of you, talk a little bit about Season of Justice, what your mission is, what your vision is, and what you're trying to accomplish?
Quite simply, our goal is to fund initiatives, advanced DNA testing, or awareness campaigns that are going to push a cold case closer to resolution. We say resolution because sometimes you're not always able to, prosecute, especially in a cold case. So pushing cold cases closer to resolution and supporting families while we do that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I have seen the impact that you guys have made, and it's incredible to watch the work that you're doing. So thank you again. In terms of Season of Justice, so advocacy is like this kind of big word, right? That encompasses a lot of different things. And so, for when we're talking about AdvocacyCon, we're focused specifically on connecting these families with resources and with experts that can help them. How do you see Season of Justice fitting into that advocacy space?
That's such a good question. So we're a tool, right? We're here to help fund these awareness campaigns. I say awareness campaigns, but they usually take the shape of billboards. So pretty standard. But we're that tool for families and their advocates. In addition to that, that's the lane that our program is in. But as an organization and as people, Sydney and I are both very passionate about supporting families. No is not a full sentence with us when it comes to our families. If we can't help or we're not the right organization, we've built a network like y'all, where we've been, we're able to connect people, not just to us as a resource, but to additional resources that we've been lucky enough to, um, to learn about, to be in contact with. So we're a tool. We're a tool to help support your efforts in getting your case, back in the spotlight, back at the attention of the community, and also, to reach the people who might have that information, because we all know, somebody saw something, somebody knows something. So if we can reach them, if we can help with that investigation, that's how we're here.
And I think that's what AdvocacyCon is all about. It's like getting those resources. There's so many nonprofits, private investigators, so many different types of resources together with those families so that they know they're supported. And there's these groups out there that are working tirelessly to help them in some capacity. And it's not a one size fits all type of thing. Every case is different and every case needs something different. And that's why we're trying to provide everything we can possibly think of to bring together at the AdvocacyCon.
Yeah, I think, oh, go ahead, Sydney. You
No,
go
I
ahead.
was just saying that's amazing. And to kind of echo Kendall too, it's like we also don't want families to think that like the buck stops with just public awareness campaigns.
Right.
We see our role as, providing the opportunity for investigators to find the funds that they might not have. I know sometimes not all families have a wonderful relationship with investigators, but a lot of them do. And a lot of them are in communication and they are facing the same roadblocks. So we're also there to be a tool to continue pushing cases forward that way. That's not fully dependent on the family as well.
Right. Right.
Any of that is just such a huge relief because everything is so overwhelming when you're trying to figure this out. And especially if you're not like media trained or you don't know, what is available to you. I know when I started Angels Voices, Silence No More, my mom really started digging into the resources so that we could share those referrals. And there's just so much out there that people probably aren't even aware of. Just starting with like the victims' compensation laws that exist and those resources that are available that a lot of people probably don't even know exist. So I think it's awesome to be able to spotlight organizations like yours that are out there doing this type of work. I was going to ask if there's any like successful cases that you've worked on that you want to highlight tonight.
I mean, I'm partial to all 224 of our grants. There are family cases that stick out to me. And success looks different depending on what program we're looking at, depending on what the case is, depending on how the family defines success. But we have 19 solved cases as in the last 4 years.
We have 19 SOJ solved
cases, which includes identifying deceased suspects, identifying there are 3 arrests within that, 2 convictions, and some DOE IDs as well, like 6, I believe, DOE identifications. So, we're lucky to see that through our DNA testing program. When it comes to families, success looks different. Success looks like, did we help them get their story back in the media? Did we help generate attention? Did we help support their efforts, their ongoing efforts? And so a couple that just like stick out to me because these families have worked tirelessly for 18 plus years. We just recently funded a billboard for Andrew Chapman, who was a 13-year-old who went missing in 2006. And his family has not heard from him since. Nobody just goes missing. That's 18 years ago. We were very lucky to have a partner in Lamar who saw what we were doing and was able to match our donation. So they were actually able to get 2 billboards. And we've seen the impact of that. It's generated stories from Yahoo to, local news, Columbus Dispatch. And this is what they needed. They needed, just kind of extra push to continue to get it in. Law enforcement is involved and law enforcement has been involved, but they're calling on the community to, if you know something, here's the tip line. There is a reward. The family has helped raise a reward through the Crime Stoppers. It's an all hands on deck effort, and we were happy that we were able to support that a little bit in our way. And then the other one, I got another one that's extremely personal to me, and so when I saw that come through our applications, was last year, that was really amazing. But I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and we have we call her she's the grandmother of San Antonio. Her name was Pauline Diaz, and she disappeared, and she went missing in I believe it's been almost 15 years. She went missing in 2010, and she was near and dear to all of our hearts because she worked at HEB, which if you're from Texas, you know how much you love HEB. She was a tortilla maker, and she's you see her and you're like, that's like my grandma. And so that case has always stuck with me. I remember when it happened. I was in college, and I remember seeing every year there would be stories. Her daughters were trying to find. We're trying to get answers. And so when we were lucky enough to be able to work with them and sponsor a billboard for them, we were able to get one for an entire year that was strategically placed near where she was last seen and where her truck was found. And they have a wonderful team of advocates supporting them as well. And I do believe a handful of tips have come in as a result of that billboard. And it's only been up for, oh gosh, Sydney has a better time frame than I do, like 6 months.
It went up in September.
Yeah. So that to me, that's success.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
All right. Well, I think billboards. So billboards, for me, I know that they can be impactful. I think that in a situation like a cold case, they definitely can be. For advertising, I don't know how impactful they can be for people, but I think that you folks have seen some success with it. Can you talk a little bit about billboards as a tool for raising that kind of awareness?
Yeah. I mean, when you're looking at how to reach the most people that you can for the most economical price, I mean, billboards are the go-to. You have other ways of reaching people through television ads, print ads, but those are extremely costly, and you're paying for maybe one or two ads. And so, billboards are they're the standard. Because they're reaching people in the community. They're going to be up for an extended length of time. And what we really found is that length of time has an impact on how effective that billboard is. If we're strategically placing something where there might be a person of interest, and they have to pass that every single day, the longer that's up, the more it weighs on their conscience. And so, we've seen in previous work with Crime Stoppers, we've seen that be the biggest impact. And so, that comes with, it's not cheap to buy a billboard. And so that's something that, is helping families get that resource, because it's a newsworthy thing to happen in your case. It generates headlines, just the act of putting up a billboard, because people who may not have been around at that time but are a part of the community now, they have questions. They want to know, who is this person? Why is their case not solved? You're reaching not just people who might have information, but people who can help just keep your loved one's name out there and at the forefront of everybody's mind. And that's going to be the quickest and most, like I said, most cost-effective way to get that. So reaching that many people, I think, is the result of, the billboards. That's going to be your outcome. And that's going to be the reason or why behind, picking billboards as a tool. There's a lot of different layers, I think, because I think some people define success as solving a case. And billboards aren't necessarily the driver of that. They generate that attention. They generate that, they put that pressure on law enforcement to remind them, families paying attention, the community's paying attention. And that can, reignite an investigation. So there are a lot of different ways that you can utilize a billboard to push your case.
Yeah, it's definitely about that community involvement, especially if it's a cold case that people could think that it's solved or completely forgotten about it, but having that billboard up. Whitney and I were speaking the other day about the digital billboards versus, I guess, like the old school billboards. Have you guys noticed a difference? Have you done the digital billboards? Like, what's your thought on the two different types?
I mean, so digital billboards, depending on where they're at, you're going to most likely reach the same number of people that you would with a static billboard. Those billboards rotate every 8 seconds, especially if you're on highway frontage or at a stoplight. Those locations, you're going to get a lot of. It doesn't sound like a lot, rotating every 8 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but it takes 1 second, one glance to register what's on a billboard. And so those 8 seconds matter. And a lot of people are going to see them. They're also, depending on your budget, they're also cheaper, and companies can be more flexible because vinyl, static billboards, you have to have a physical print product that has to be produced. There's a cost behind that has to be installed. So that price can escalate pretty quickly. And then also, you're stuck with that billboard. That's what you're going to have for the length of your contract. Digital billboards, there's that flexibility. You can, some companies allow you to change up the design, put new information up there so you can rotate and, have different messages at different times. They're also illuminated and running 24 hours, where static billboards, whether or not they have a light, that, they could not. And even if they do, it's going to turn off at like 11 anyways. So there's pros and cons to both of them. And I think they're both great options. So I don't think you can go wrong with either one.
That's awesome. I just want to call out that Whitney, our COO, has been putting in the link for donations to Season of Justice in the chat. So if you're inspired by what these amazing people are doing to help the families of the missing and murdered, please donate $5, $1, 50 cents. It all really helps. It all adds up. And the more donations that they get, the more they can continue to help fund some of these campaigns. All right, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
I was just saying thank you for doing that.
Oh, of course. We love you guys, and we want you.
We love you guys too.
We want you to be successful. Okay, so this is for all the stats nerds out there, all the people clutching their Excel spreadsheets. Melissa, can you give us some key statistics or milestones that Season of Justice has achieved since you've started?
Yeah, I mean, Sydney, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking the whole time.
No, we were joking about this before. Kendall will talk the entire first half. I will talk the entire second half. But any support, I'm here for you, Kendall. But you are the numbers guru of Season of Justice.
So we've funded 224 grants. That represents 224. That actually represents more cases if you think about cold case playing cards and things like that. The special grants that we have been lucky enough to fund. But those are individuals. Every single case, there's a family member behind that. I think my biggest success and my biggest milestone that we've achieved, I think, is the number of families that we've been able to help in the amount of time that we've existed, and that our family program has existed, because that came after our DNA grant program, when we realized there's more that we could do. And sometimes DNA is not always a viable option. So we've to date been able to support 39 families. The average length of a campaign that we are able to fund is between 12 to 24 weeks. So, that's a substantial amount of time. And that's nearly $200,000 that we could not have done without this community. And the impact that it's made just for the families, I don't have words, clearly. I don't have words to express how much it means to be able to play that small role in their lives. And that's, to me, I think that's my biggest milestone. And also, just what we're able to do. I mean, even with the DNA testing program, the fact that we've been able to support cases and get that testing that is otherwise inaccessible to law enforcement. And it's resulted, 19 cases have answers now. Whether it's giving somebody back their identity or letting a sister know what happened to her sister 32 years ago. And I think each one of those holds a special place in our hearts. And that's why we're here. That's why Season of Justice exists. So, and we couldn't do it without y'all.
And to kind of piggyback off of Kendall, it's our testing that doesn't result with like DNA answers. We don't consider those failures either. That is answering questions of like, oh, if this one piece of evidence would just tested, would we know what happened to our loved one, or to help the investigators go in a different direction? So we try to, every dollar that is dedicated to the programs for Season of Justice, we see as a success, because ultimately that's helping and supporting how a loved one is processing this experience. So.
Yeah,
exactly. It's so complex, and it's not just, oh, once we send this DNA off, bam, shabam, the whole thing's going to be figured out. It's not that simple. It's not TV, definitely. Right. And just showing up and showing support and trying things for these families, I swear, makes all the difference. It's just Whitney and I all the time are chatting about how the thanks we get, and we're like, we're doing the bare minimum. Like, I wish we can do more for you, but these families are so thankful for you just to be a listening ear, and then going above and beyond and sending DNA or billboards is just like icing on the cake for them, because they've went so long without having anything done, anyone to like truly listen to them. So you guys are amazing for everything you've done. I'm just so proud to know you.
Oh, likewise.
Yes.
So I know you shared some like examples of success, some examples of things that have gone well. Is there any other anecdotes or anything else that you'd like to share before we move into the next segment here?
I mean, I could talk for hours here about this. Truly could. We were able to, and I will keep her name private because she was a minor at the time, but we were able to fund the testing that identified somebody's rapist who is still alive. And we did not know her name. She was a minor at the time. We do not get involved in the details of the case. I literally just pay bills. Like, that's what I'm here to pay that bill for you. But we got a Facebook message just late one night. Oh, I'm gonna cry. And it was her. I didn't wear mascara for this reason. It was her. And just the gratitude that she shared, we will never feel like we've deserved that. But yeah, we don't ever really get to talk to, the victims directly for a lot of our cases. And so for her to just seek us out and tell us, how much it meant to her to have this community, because it's not just us. Season of Justice is powered by every single person who donates to us. Like, y'all are Season of Justice. We would not exist without you. We're just the facilitators. So it's an honor, but that will stick with me forever.
Right. This is how I know you guys have the right people in the right places. I mean, just the heart.
We cry a lot.
Well, so do I.
We're so productive.
To piggyback off of Kendall, because I work very differently, and I am very mindful, because it is my job to steward the information we share with the public. There's lots of things we can't share. So I don't look at cases like that. I don't look at all the cases that come in. I look at the cases we fund and what we can do. But for me, what makes me get emotional is like when I came in, I started our Cold Case Champion, so our recurring donors, and we have over 150 people who show up every month, whether $5 to $50, to make this commitment over and over to these families to support them. And it's just on really hard days that we've been having a couple, in the past year or so, to know that there's people who have absolutely no connection to these individuals, and they're like, I want to do something. And so it's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. So it's just really a privilege to be a part of it. So.
I typically don't cry. That's Whitney's forte, but you guys are getting me there.
I need you to teach me how to not do that. So
It's compartmentalizing is what happens in my brain.
But it's just so beautiful to see the emotion there, because I think that is what makes you guys good at what you do. That's what makes Whitney and Melissa good at what they do, is that connection, that emotional connection to these families, and just the love that you have to have in your heart, because you have that empathy, right? You see what they're going through, you see how hard it is for them, and just to be able to do a small piece of like hope for them is so rewarding, and it makes such a huge impact. I can speak for myself as a family member fighting for justice. Like, any amount of hope that I can get to keep me going is worth its weight in gold. It's probably worth more than its weight in gold, right? Because it's hard day after day after day. Like, people that listen to true crime, people that are interested in this stuff, they get to put it down and walk away and go about their lives. And for families, this is every day. This is every single day. And there's always reminders, and there's always the pain of not knowing, and there's always the pain of not having the answers. And so it's just really beautiful. Your heart is beautiful. And so thank you. Melissa, do you want to take the next couple of discussion points?
Sure. I
Give me a break.
At the agenda.
Oh no.
You didn't sign up to come in here and cry, friends.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we'll get on to a little bit more of a happier topic, at least. What are you guys most excited about for AdvocacyCon? You guys will be there in just, I think, what, 70-ish days?
I saw your post. It's 75, right?
Is it 75? Yes. Whitney keeps track of the days. I'm like, it was 75 the other day, so I don't know if it's still 75.
So if you don't already, follow AdvocacyCon on social media, and you'll have the countdowns available.
Yes.
We're excited for a lot of things. We're excited. So I think generally the thing we're most excited for is all of these resources, all of these tools, all of this various levels of support being in one place under one roof. And I mean, I think, in this work, we all kind of know each other, but being able to be in the same space and to make connections and to work through partnerships and to just share expertise, it's just so unique and such an amazing opportunity. And like Kendall and I, we always joke, like, we don't really consider ourselves advocates, even though Kendall is a certified victim advocate. Shout out.
So is Whitney.
We took the same class.
That's on my list for next year as well. So we're always thinking about those things. While we don't really identify ourselves there, we are always happy to be a partner for other organizations that want to take on that role. And I'm also excited to meet some of our partners and friends in person, because we've never met them in person. So, but I think it's just a great opportunity to unify as a general community. I am a firm believer that we're stronger together, and we can only lift each other up, and to let the people who do what they do well pick it up and soar. So I'm here to support all of those people who are amazing at their jobs already, just do even more amazing work.
That's awesome. I am definitely an introvert, but when I go to these conferences, they wear me out. However, it also like revitalizes me and be like, this is my mission. This is my passion. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. When you get around those like-minded individuals, they kind of like pump you up and you're ready to go for the next project. Absolutely. So I am definitely ready for AdvocacyCon in that respect. So is there a question on this one? So yeah, we will be having tons of advocates, learning opportunities, ways to grow, ways for families to learn about, things that I feel like a lot of us, millennials and beyond, take for granted. Creating Facebook pages, creating flyers. Like, we all learned that in school, but one generation before us really didn't, and they didn't have those tools, and they don't always know that, hey, you can create a Facebook page on your own. So I feel like this is going to be such a valuable weekend to learn things that we might think are no-brainers, but a lot of other people haven't ever had that opportunity or don't don't utilize social media the way that we do. So
Absolutely.
definitely going to be a great weekend.
Awesome. So we have a question here for you two ladies from the audience. Do you fund homicide doe cases where there may not be evidence of a killer, or would that essentially make it an ID only case?
That would make it an ID only case. At this time, there are many wonderful organizations that work exclusively on doe identifications, like the DNA Doe Project, the Doe ID Network, and so we let the experts handle that one. And at this time, we don't fund doe identifications. We strictly focus on unsolved homicides or unsolved violent crimes, where investigators are looking for unknown suspect DNA, whether it's on items of evidence that have been tested before, need to be retested with more sensitive technology now that technology is advanced, or utilizing new lead generating techniques like forensic genetic genealogy. Again, the goal is to push a cold case closer towards prosecution resolution. That's our mission, and so for that reason, we stick strictly with homicides. We have funded doe identifications in the past where they were confirmed homicide victims, and that was through a special donation or special grant that we received. So that was that was what we needed to spend it on.
So go ahead, Sydney.
No, it was just a restricted fund. So sometimes, so like our special projects, like a little insight just to kind of like the bookkeeping part, our special projects are as money set aside specifically to fund those special projects that might not necessarily be exactly within our mission. Mm-hmm. So our like cornerstone programs are public awareness campaigns and DNA testing. If we sometimes get approached by affinity partners being like, we would love for you to steward these funds for us for restricted giving, we're happy to partner. But those are usually like fewer initiatives that we're part of.
And I do want to call out that the DNA Doe Project is going to be at AdvocacyCon and will be on one of these live series that we're doing. So they do work with doe identification cases. So keep an eye out for them as well.
We haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, but we admire all of the work you do, and we love your social media posts.
They do.
So you get to meet soon.
Very soon. Yes. 72 days, according to Whitney.
Yes. Eric, do you want to talk about any of the topics or things that'll be happening at actual AdvocacyCon? We haven't really announced any. We've been finalizing everything, the three of us. So do you want to give any sneak peeks of what will be happening?
Absolutely. So Friday night, we're going to have a big opening reception, which is going to be for families and resources to connect, to get to know each other without the barrier of a table between you. And really just to kind of warm everybody up to each other so that whenever we are all together on Saturday, you kind of know each other. It's a little bit easier to have those side conversations that we're really hoping are going to help to give people some inspiration on their cases. So we've got an incredible lineup, and I'm not going to go through all of it because it's going to take all day. Of course, our keynote speaker, Beth Holloway, is going to be talking to families about what it means to have hope for your cold case or for the answers that you're looking for, and how after 20 years she was able to get some resolution on her daughter Natalie's case. Beautiful, beautiful soul. I can't wait to hear what she has to say. We've got Laura Norton talking about genetic genealogy and identification of does, which is a hot topic. We've got Julie Murray and Shayna from Light the Way. They're going to be talking about advocacy and just some best practices and things that they've learned. My gosh, we've got so many other the most exciting thing that I'm excited about all of it, but we've got the Office of Victims Compensation tentatively we'll get final soon, but we've got some great courses that are going to be the impact of traumatic grief, overcoming compassion fatigue, just some amazing things that are going to be happening. And then We don't know exactly what day. It could be Saturday, it could be Sunday. One of those days, we're going to be doing a fun off-premise bingo fundraiser event for Season of Justice. And you have the chance to win some money, but you also have a chance to help raise some money for Season of Justice and have some fun. So it's not all going to be super serious. We're going to have a good time either Saturday night or, Sunday evening. So yeah,
Yes.
exciting stuff.
Love bingo. I can tell you a story about when Whitney, Eric, and I were in Washington, D.C. We killed the bingo. Like, we won so many times, the other people were literally getting angry at us. It was like just one after another. We just kept winning. I don't know what that
Whitney,
was about.
Melissa, and Eric aren't allowed to play.
We are not allowed to play. We will be helping out, but it was so much fun. We had a
You
great
are
time.
allowed to buy us all lottery tickets, though. So just gonna throw that out.
I wish
Awesome.
I was good at lottery, but I'm
I
not.
know. We were
Just
really
bingo.
good at winning $20 gift cards
Yeah.
for the place we were at. So we got our drinks paid for.
There you go.
We've
It
got
was a very
Sorry, Melissa, didn't mean to cut you
no.
off.
It was just a fun night.
We have another question here. So, can law enforcement, an agency, apply for funding from Season of Justice on a cold case that needs testing?
Yes. In fact, they are the only ones who can apply for DNA testing because, again, chain of custody is important. Unfortunately, personal items that are not part of the the official investigation they're not admissible in court, so they're not able to be tested. But yes, law enforcement, they are the the ones who apply. And if you are law enforcement or you have a detective that you would like to share that information to, they can go to seasonofjustice.org, click on our website, and they can submit an application right there. And I'm happy to talk through with them if they're not familiar with working with private labs. All of the private labs that we work with are accredited for forensic testing, and so yes, absolutely, that was a great question.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Okay, next question. It's January. We're all making our goals, our vision boards. I actually had my teenage sons make a vision board this year as well. So what do you guys have as goals, or what's in your vision for 2025?
Sure. Happy to answer that. More SOJ solves are obviously a goal. It's something we're always looking forward is to push more cases closer to resolution. We are extremely excited. In the next couple of weeks, we'll share some more information about onboarding our new executive director, who has joined us in the past 2 weeks. So we didn't want to throw her on here and just welcome. But we're very excited to be welcoming her, and then really just expanding our reach, increasing awareness. We have such an outpouring of love from the true crime community, but there are many more people out there who could be helping support these families on these cases as well. So looking to reach them, creating a sustainable future for Season of Justice so we stay around for many years to come. And then also we're working through some very creative opportunities for our community to get some more in-depth understanding and nuances of what goes on behind the scenes. What does solving a cold case actually entail? What decisions do our investigative partners and our labs have to make on a daily basis? So really kind of trying to shed some light on everything that goes on after we issue those it's awards.
Yeah. That's amazing, because you really don't know. It is such a different realm. You think, oh, it's all wrapped up into a bow. Here you go, DNA company. And it's just not that simple. So that'll be amazing. I would love to even hear about that, because I'm still in the dark about all of that.
Don't get me started. I could talk for hours.
Yes, and we will give Kendall the platform to talk for hours here. And that's the thing too. It's that's something we just always don't think about. And so Kendall, forgive me if I'm wrong, but public labs turnaround time for DNA testing is 3 years or more. Yes.
I mean, that would be an extreme, yeah. But they're at least, in several places, especially Metro, they're at least a year. And that's for active cases. That's not cold cases. That's for hot cases right now.
for Season of Justice, we pride ourselves that our turnaround time from start to finish is around 18 months, but that's still 18 months of things happening. It's not that it just sits there and we wait. There's lots of things going on behind the scenes.
Right.
And then what do they do once they have those results? Because while we might be the end of the road for some detectives who are like looking to get more evidence in the case, we're just the beginning of the rest of the justice process. So there's a lot that we can talk about and dive in deeper. And we have a lot of wonderful volunteers and advisory board members who will help us continue to share this story. So we're excited to give you a little bit more insight.
Yeah, in the Brandon Lawson case, it was 2.5, almost 3 years before the DNA was back. And it was definitely a cold case. And people, like the public, were like, there's no way it should take this long. And we're like, we're just telling you what the information we've been given. We
They're
can't.
not allowed to turn on the machine until it's full, guys.
There's
true.
And I'm like, there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
Definitely. And so that'll be a very interesting series to listen to. Oh, I'm interested because there's a lot. Okay, next question. So what opportunities does like our audience or people that you interact with or people that support you, how can they collaborate or help you reach these goals?
Absolutely. So there's lots of things we can do. Obviously, donate. I'm a development manager. We work for a nonprofit. I would be remiss if I didn't say, please donate. We're tax exempt. I'll issue you a letter for tax season, I promise. So if you're able to participate in our $5 Fridays campaign, so the last Friday of every month, we try to get as many people as we can to give $5. It's less than a cup of coffee if you drink the kind of coffee I drink now. So considering becoming a cold case champion, so maybe you can contribute $5 a month for repeatedly. And then we are also getting ready to host our second ever virtual 5K throughout the month of April. So our Jog for Justice. So create a team, join a team, all of those wonderful things. Financial support is so important. There are many things you can do if financial support is not an option. Share our social media posts. So every Thursday, we try to do a case highlight. When we have campaign announcements, share those, blast them to your network, especially if they're local to you. The more eyes on these cases, the more information we're going to generate. And it takes literally 2 seconds to hit a share button. Also, our website is set up. You can go to our featured case page and literally hit share. It'll send it right away to your social media of choice. And it'll have all that information there as well. And then support all families going through cold case investigations and whatnot by following their social media accounts, signing and boosting their petitions whenever possible. Really just using, if you don't have the finances to support that way, using your time and your energy when you're scrolling social media to click a couple extra buttons that could really make a big difference.
I'm sure AdvocacyCon will have a team this year, so please join ours. We had one last year, so we're very excited. And I did receive your email today about the tax contribution. So
Me
we got a new system, so they go automatically. If you're in the suburban western suburbs of Illinois and want to meet up and join my team, feel free. I'll be doing something in person. So
we have a question.
I will not be running. So
yeah.
We have a question here. And so Whitney's going to go ahead and pull up the schedule because the question is, when is the schedule for AdvocacyCon going to be released? Whitney will be pulling that up here in just a moment with all the details. So definitely, I guess that's it.
I would like to say could be subject to change.
Oh, just kidding.
Just
so
in case.
I misunderstood Whitney. So she says she's announcing next week.
Oh,
not
sorry.
at all what I read in the text that she sent. So, next week is the answer, Stephanie.
But basically, I mean, it's Friday evening for families and resources, all day Saturday, and then half a day on Sunday if you're trying to make travel arrangements. That's basically what it is. All of the content is going to be top notch, so you don't want to miss any.
Absolutely.
Yes. I was like, if she's sharing it, it might change a smidge just in case, because I'm anxiety ridden and I like to plan for the worst.
She said next week, so we're good, Melissa.
Okay.
All right, so we're at like 45 minutes. I think we were shooting for about this amount of time to an hour, but I just want to kind of recap everything. So Season of Justice, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing what you guys are doing. You are my heroes, and I want to be like you when I grow up. And I just love the way that you folks are approaching helping people who really need it and who often in this society don't really get that kind of help that they need, right? And so I think it's starting to change, and I'm excited. I think AdvocacyCon is a step in the right direction, and I hope that more and more resources continue to just come out of the woodwork here. But I want to say, like, if you are impacted or if you had some heartstrings being tugged on during this conversation, please go follow Season of Justice on social media. Follow us on social media if you're not following us, AdvocacyCon, and sign up for our email list. Sign up for Season of Justice email list so you can keep in touch with all of us and know what's going on. And then if you want to donate, volunteer, or help spread the word, go to seasonofjustice.org. All the information that you need is there. So now we're going to open it up for some questions, unless the three of you have anything else to say. But
Oh.
Okay, so does investigating agency have to invite you to investigate the cold case?
I love this question. So we don't investigate. We pay bills for the private lab. So yes, the agency does have to initiate that. They are the ones who submit applications. We don't go seek out cases. I go talk to homicide investigators across the country. And we work with, like I said, private accredited forensics labs across the country. So investigators have a cold case, they need evidence tested, or they need to try a new avenue like FGG. They submit an application to us. We award, they submit an application with the quote from the private lab so that we have an idea of how much they're going to need. And these quotes are pricey. And so our board will, evaluate. We have a team of experts that evaluates, and they will, award an amount. And we are direct to vendor, which means we don't, like traditional grant programs, disperse money to their grantee. We don't do that. We make sure that every single dollar is used for exactly the case that it's supposed to be used for, and what's needed. So we pay the vendor labs directly, and that's how we facilitate those investigations. The investigative part is very much still on the agency, and the private labs, DNA analysts help as well.
Okay, we've got another question. What is the average cost to run DNA?
Question.
Yeah, that's my favorite question. It gets more expensive every single year. You're looking at,
let's say, how much did it cost in 2023 versus how much did it cost in 2024?
Okay. So on average in 2023, FGG, forensic genetic genealogy, starting from sequencing a DNA profile all the way to doing all of the research, including the database fees, was about $8,000, $8,000, $9,000. Right now we're looking at about 12. So that's it. It has increased. Database fees increased. And then DNA testing, how much it costs to just traditional DNA testing with advanced techniques depends on how much evidence you have to test. And I mean, we've seen quotes come in for $3,000, and we've seen quotes come in for $42,000 for a single case. So it truly depends on the evidence and what's needed. What we like to ask the investigators, because our grants are not $42,000 large, that's a significant amount of money, but we always ask the investigators to identify their most probative, their most valuable pieces of evidence, that if they had, if they were only able to pick X number of items, what would you pick? What's the most valuable to this case? And we try to help focus them that way, because there are some cases where there is a ton of evidence. There's boxes of evidence. Mm-hmm. And how do you prioritize that when, you're running on a budget where $42,000 is your entire department's forensic budget for the year? So it's expensive. Yeah.
Very pricey. Got another question. Why would an investigating agency not want to help solving a cold case? I have my own thoughts and opinions that I'm going to keep to myself about that, but I'll let you ladies answer.
I think the highest level general answer is there are some departments nationwide who have federal level funding and have larger budgets, just depending on, the priorities of the leadership of their local areas. It really depends on that too. So Kendall probably be more nuanced, but I think too, it's just budgets look different nationwide, specifically cities, rurals, and things, as well as caseload. So if you have a very active caseload, your budgets can be used for that versus cold cases. Kendall, any other addition?
No, I mean, I've had, like Sydney said, we get the best of the best investigators that apply to us, and I'm privileged to know every single one of them. I've not met one that doesn't want help in a cold case. There are, there's chain of command. There are city ordinances. Civilians cannot assist on active or open investigations. So there are a lot of reasons that they don't invite outsiders in, but it's not wanting to help in a cold case. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. That does make sense.
I have a question. Well, Whitney texted it to me. So I do. How do you guys determine the strategy for placing a billboard? Do you how does that all work?
I will, if you got a person of interest and I look at the map, so we start with the big three, Lamont out front, these are nationwide companies, because they have asset maps online. So I work with the families. I always call law enforcement and I invite them to help us. I tell them you don't need to tell me any details of the case, but if you could just pick on a map where you would put a billboard so that somebody might see it all the time, just let me know where that is. And we've had some families and we've had some law enforcement that have absolutely, they're like, right here, find something right here. And I'll look if we can find a billboard in that area that will fit the budget, that will give us, the largest amount of exposure for the longest amount of time. Let's do it. I am not above we have put one right in front of a person of interest, like the entrance to their neighborhood. You're going to have to see that for for a whole 9 months. So, I'll absolutely do that.
I
we
love
will
that.
never, we won't ever, our billboards are not inflammatory. We will never call out a single person. They are designed to solicit new information. But if you've got a guilty conscience, I'll leverage it.
There's something about that pressure, right? And that
Yeah.
pressure, not just on any potential suspects, but also on maybe like a DA or, somebody that maybe isn't wanting to move a case forward for one reason or the other. That political pressure does go a long way and has made an impact definitely in my brother's case. And I think could make an impact in a bunch of other people's cases. So I think those billboards have multiple uses and it's just really, really incredible. All right. So we are down to the last 7 minutes. Any closing thoughts that you folks want to share as we're wrapping up?
I mean, just thank you for having us. Thank you for the kind words. Eric, that means a lot coming from you with your lived experience. So we appreciate y'all. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. And yeah, thank you guys.
We're excited.
Echo. And I thank you to you all, and thank you to everybody who's going to be attending at AdvocacyCon. And thank you to all current Season of Justice supporters, because without you, we wouldn't be here. We always like to say together we can solve cold cases, but together is the most important word in that sentence. So thank you for having us.
Thank you. All right. So Melissa, any last thoughts before I give the last plug?
I don't know what your last plug is, so
it's going to be for tickets. It's going to be for tickets.
Okay,
so
yes, go for it.
If you haven't purchased your tickets yet and you want to save a little bit of money, you can use code season10 to save 10% on your ticket for AdvocacyCon. Well, that is the Season of Justice code. You can go to the Give Butter link that is in the chat. And thank you, Season of Justice, for joining us. We're so excited to see you in March. And thank you to everybody who joined on social media and YouTube.
Thank you.
Let's ignite that spark of hope, everyone.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.